Okay, so here's a little spiel I'll do about these aha moments and these little glimpses and all those the special experiences and those fleeting moments that seekers seem so attached to getting these moments of sort of bliss or the moment of no self or all these little moments, the aha moments that seem to happen and the addiction that can happen to these glimpses or these moments of oneness or all those little things that seem to keep the seeker going. Oh, maybe if I meditate more, I'll be rewarded with another little glimpse of being or whatever, however they call it, or pure awareness. And see, that's the whole trouble. It's the seeker thinking that they're an entity. It's the idea that I'm an entity that's being rewarded for doing something. But the irony is that you are that which never changes anyway. So the I remember Muji had a video called, Who's the Glimpser? So who's the one even glimpsing reality for a moment or having the veil part or any of that stuff? Who's the one having that experience and is that an entity? And who's aware of that imaginary entity having that experience? And who's addicted to this whole thing? It's amazing. During the search, there was an aha moment could actually be an oh shit moment at the same time because a lot of times there'd be a glimpse, quote unquote, but also something would be revealed. So it wasn't just a freebie. There wasn't just a moment of pure bliss or whatever. There was something was being deconstructed. Something was being exposed as false, you could say. And that was it's like what's happened? And then what's left of the ego, in a manner of speaking, tries to compensate and tries to get a foothold into what's happening and make sense of it and maybe seek the pleasurable aspect of that event and avoid the painful exposure. Oh no, someone found me out. I've been revealed. My cover has been blown. What do I do? What do I do? Me, I. And just going on like that. So this is really about exposing that whole thing, that whole cycle, and seeing that I am that in which all of that happens, instead of I am an entity that's in a process. There's an entity in something, trying to struggle his way out and trying to get the bliss and trying to avoid the painful revelation of falsehood or whatever. Because whatever the ego is, we can debate whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't like the idea of being exposed and uncovered, and it doesn't want to be found out as a fraud, whatever it is. Even calling it is too much validity. So there's no entity. But if it's imagined that there is an entity, then it seems like there's an entity. So it's a matter of just exposing that idea simply by seeing that I am the awareness. I am that which has never moved. So any movement is detected by the self, what I am. And so any notion of ego, entity, separate self is movement happening within what I am. So I am the stillness. I am the behindness to which things, not to it, not to which things happen, but by which things happen, you could say, which is so feeble that it's amazing. I can't even, it's too feeble to even comment on how feeble it is because the words are just so flimsy that it's amazing. But this is obvious, and that's one thing to point out. What you are is completely obvious and completely available in a sense to be seen. It sees itself. It's self-knowing. Sailor Bob, I think, talks about this self. It's self-knowing. It's self-shining, right? It's just, it's like the sun. Is a good analogy. John Wheeler talks about in one of his books. Consider the sun. It's bright and luminous, and it's self-shining. And if there's nothing else, if there's no planets or anything around it, it's just all there is. That's what we are. We're self-shining and seeing ourselves in the reflections, which is everything else. Everything else. There's no else really, but for the sake of talking about it, everything else that we see around us is us in another expression. So if I'm the sun, then everything else is simply reflections of that light, the light that emanates. Well, I make it sound so dramatic, all these sounds and hand gestures, and It's not dramatic. It's simple and ordinary. It's all there is. There's nothing special or mundane about it. It's just what it is. So everything that is seen is of the same substance. Awareness appears as all there is. That's all that's happening. See, I heard an Alan Watts program about how we miss everything. We miss our whole lives to struggle, struggling to get to the end point when we should have been dancing the whole time, right? We should have just been just dancing, which doesn't, mean not doing work and all that stuff or not taking care of children. But it's about what is. Life is about this moment, not even a moment. Life is just it's just this. It's not about some endpoint or some awakening. This is awakening. This is it. This is the awakening. Just what's happening. It's seeing what you really are. That's all. It's the recognition of what you really are right now. That's all. And it's not special, it's not difficult, it's not easy, it's not any adjective. There's nothing to compare it to, because this is the benchmark. This is real. This is what's real. We're getting back, we're not getting back to, but it's recognizing what's real, and that's it. It's as simple as that, It's just, this is real. What I am is the real, and everything else is appearance, which are not separate. Those two are not separate. A lot of people call it, the one without a second. I heard a fellow called Paul Hederman. He called it the none without a first. So it's just nothing without a first, without an object. So there's no objectivity about it. It's just total openness without any referential solid point to make into an identity, to make into a me. There's no me. But if it seems like there is a me, recognize what you are, and then see what this me really is. Start from the, what does Sailor Bob say? Start from the fact of your own being. That's it. And you can't not, because it's already what you are. So it's recognizing what's fundamentally real right now, and seeing how everything else is appearance that comes and goes, and is dependent upon what has already been recognized as the beingness, or whatever you call it. See, it's easily recognized when it's pointed out, and maybe that may be what's needed, having it pointed out again and again, and just really taking time, quote, to orient back to that beingness. For me, it took a lot of dedication. It took a lot of sort of earnestness. It's like, okay, I could go out with my friends, or I could really just nail this thing down, But that sounds like a big task that takes a lot of time and effort. But I mean, why not? I mean, if that's what it takes, this is worthwhile in a sense. You could say this is worth nailing down. This, not for the entity, but what you really are longs to, you could say, recognize itself again. So this is the only worthwhile endeavor there is, in a sense. Nisargadatta said the eternal is the only thing worth striving for. Striving doesn't imply like a long, arduous journey. But this is if you had a hierarchy of important things in life, life itself would have to be the most important. But we spend all our time chasing life and missing it. So it only makes sense to really understand, you could say, or to come back to the being of aliveness itself, instead of these other pursuits that are really aiming to try to get back to life itself anyway. So why not start from the aliveness, and everything else can just happen? Because otherwise we're just in seeking for some pleasure, some bursts of euphoria that are just so fleeting. So this isn't about exclusion, but it's about reorienting into what's real. That's all. It's not special. I'm not special. I'm just a head. There's nothing here. Anyway, thanks for listening, and take care.